What's up and welcome back. I'm John Stark from MacTheMovieGuy.com, your favorite blind film critic, and I'm so excited to be doing a second look at this film. I love this film. This is Inside Out. Obviously, I'm doing this because Inside Out 2 is releasing, so I wanted to touch base on the first film, give you guys my thoughts on the first film before I see the sequel. So my thoughts are completely not affected by the sequel already. I have not seen Inside Out 2 yet. I will. I promise. But it was definitely my top 5 of films I wanted to see this year. I know Pixar hasn't had the greatest track record, but damn, Inside Out is one of their best. And I felt that while watching this. I have some concerns about the sequel, mainly the fact that some talent has been jettisoned and the director is not the same. Pete Docter is a fantastic director, and that is absolutely one of the reasons why this film works. He also directed Up, so you have him doing 2 of Pixar's best films, and I don't know why he didn't come back for the sequel. I don't know why we have a fresh face for the sequel. But I will remain really optimistic that they didn't mess up Inside Out. At bare minimum, I hope we have at least like a Finding Dory, where it's like, oh, it's fine. It didn't surpass the original, but it's fine. It was good. You know, it had its own moments. It was quirky. It was fun. It's fine. So Inside Out features the story of a young girl and her 5 emotions as she grows up. As Riley continues to grow up, we continue to see these emotions interacting with all these situations, and it's a cute concept from the very beginning because you see sort of a more adultish but still unhinged. They're very sort of reactionary emotions. So anger, voiced by Lewis Black, is always kind of like ready to be angry about something, even when like Riley's just like a toddler, you know. And we've got Disgust, who in this is voiced by Mindy Kaling, who did not return for Inside Out 2. And also we have Fear, who's voiced by Bill Hader, who did not return for Inside Out 2. Why did these 2 not return? It's voice acting, guys. What's happening here? I don't know why we didn't bring back the original voice actors for these roles. I am deeply concerned because when people turn down returning for voice acting, it's not a good thing because it's really easy to do a voice acting performance. So when you have to be replaced from voice acting, the question is why. So those 2 are not coming back, but we do have Sadness, who's played by Phyllis Smith from The Office. She's returning, and she's in this. She plays obviously a huge part in this. And of course, Joy, played by Amy Poehler, are the 5 emotions that drive Riley. And Riley and her family are moving to San Francisco for the very first time. She's leaving Minnesota, which she loved because of the snow and the skating and the ice hockey and her friends, and she's making this huge trek to San Francisco, and she's just not that happy. But Joy is usually in the driver's seat of Riley, so she tries to keep her as happy as possible. But then something happens where Sadness keeps touching core memories and turning them blue and making them sad. And once they've touched a core memory, it can't go back. So Joy's trying to manage Sadness, who just keeps touching core memories for some reason. She never really explains. She's just like, I don't know why. And while fighting over core memories, they end up getting sucked into the tube, and they end up getting sucked into the other parts of Riley's brain. And we go through all these different islands, and we get to see sort of the area where they make her dreams. Long-term memory storage is in there, and then there's sort of like this memory dump where the things we, I guess, no longer ever need to know get deleted. They get dropped and then eventually deleted from the brain. So, yeah, it's got a fun journey. They have to come back all the way through all these things, and they go through like abstract thought was really interesting. It's really interesting to see how that was described. I should shout out the audio description team on this. Shockingly, it was not deluxe. It was Media Access Group, which I don't think works with Disney a lot, but I was pleasantly surprised to see that it was somebody else. And it was Leilani Jones-Wilmore was doing the narration here for the audio description. And Leilani has a really nice voice for this. So it's the kind of thing that you feel like always goes to deluxe, narrated by Laura Post. And there was no reason why it couldn't be this. Like Media Access Group, narrated by Leilani Jones-Wilmore, was perfectly fine. I didn't have a single problem with it. I thought she was delightful. So, there are many narrators working out there that do really solid work, and this is an example of that. I didn't quite catch the voice right away because Leilani Jones-Wilmore is not used as much as some of the others, but she probably should be, because this is an example of how her voice fits perfectly into something that has some heavy themes and some moments and some sadness, and it's not all fun and games. It's not just a silly movie. It is a quirky, beautiful comedy that I think everybody will enjoy, the whole family. It's full of stuff for adults to be able to catch on to and reflect and think about, you know, the intelligence that it took to come up with something like that, and then also how that affects their own lives, and reminisce about their own past, maybe their own childhood and their own situations, and they can look to their own kids that they brought to the theater and see how this film relates to that kind of situation. This is kind of like a perfect film to be able to fully encompass like the experience of seeing a movie together as a family, as parents, as kids. Everybody just kind of gets something out of it. And of course, one of the best things in this film is Richard Kind as Bing Bong. Just such an unexpected thing. They tried to hide him in the marketing campaign. They didn't want people to know about Bing Bong, but Bing Bong is the best imaginary friend that a film has ever tried to have before. He is so delightful, and he joins them on their journey and tries to get them to where they need to go. And he's, of course, from his perspective, the only perspective he knows is when Riley was young and they had all these plans and they were going to go to the moon, and he talks about his rocket spaceship, and we don't really know where Bing Bong's story is going to go, where he's going to end up. But his story and his ending is one of the most affecting things about the movie. About letting go, about making that sacrifice. And it's the only time that I teared up in this movie. I remember it got me the first time. It didn't get me this time around, and maybe it's because I know that it's coming. There are very few films that still continue to get me like every single time, like the opening scene in Up. My God, just the first like 10 minutes of Up. But yeah, that was one of the things that I noticed when I reviewed WALL-E last year as part of my 40 for 40 as being one of my favorite films of all time. I chose WALL-E, and it was one of the only films that for me didn't translate through audio description. I didn't think it ever could, either, after having watched it, because I didn't think the audio description track was bad. I just think if you're sighted and then you're not, you're missing. You knew what WALL-E's facial expressions were, and a lot of that it's so nuanced. The animation was so good that he can move like an inch. He can do a little bit of an inflection with his eyes, and it's a non-verbal character, and sometimes it's just these little ways that these robots look at each other. It was done so well that the audio description just, it's hard to really bring that in, to really truly tell you and to capture the moment. And WALL-E was something that made me cry every time I saw it. And I was missing that. I was missing those expressions, even though I was trying to pull it from my memory. Apparently, my memory people were not doing a great job, and they took some stuff out of long-term memory and they put it in the dump. And now that I know how my brain works, but so I don't have any problems with this film. Even when I was coming back through this for the, I don't know, 10th time, I don't know how many times I've seen this film. This is a happy place film. I like to put this film on to just be like, oh yeah, it's good. It's like 90 minutes, by the way. It's really short. It moves along so quickly. It's like, you can't hate it. There's nothing to hate about this film. It's perfect. The only thing that I thought was that, with everything, if I could make like one change, it would be the fact that Family Island wouldn't have collapsed. It'd be like the only thing. Like, it would be so close to collapsing, and like this dramatic, you know, is it gonna collapse? Is it not gonna collapse? But it's like the sturdiest of the islands. You know what I'm saying? Because she always has family. Like, even in the back of her mind, even when Riley is running away, trying to go back to Minnesota, she still has family. So it should be like the one thing that you know, some of the others, like goofball, is okay. Well, that's something that you, I guess, could get rid of. But yeah, family was like the only island I was like, well, this shouldn't be shaky. This should be pretty trusting of. Family Mountain should be like solid, you know. It shouldn't be like on a little platform. It should be like on solid land, like the mountain grew up around it, and it ain't going anywhere. But yeah, a lot harder to take down than the other ones. So, but I love where the story goes. I love how it ends. I love how everything works out together. The suggestions of like her future, and you know, where she could go after this and where the sequels could go, and also because they hint at a sequel. You know what I'm saying? Like, this film ends on a note where you could go, yeah, obviously you could do more here. And it shows you all these other characters and their various the emotions inside their heads, which is interesting because everybody sort of had like the same set of emotions, but obviously Inside Out 2 is about exploring new emotions that Riley gets as she ages, which kind of makes sense. It's something that it's interesting that they didn't think of that while exploring this, although I don't know that the other emotions are necessarily named. So we don't know what those 5 are that are always shown in somebody else's head. So they could be other things. So I think that's one of the reasons why perhaps Bill Hader and Mindy Kaling are not returning as much, is because fear and disgust are going to be replaced with other things, like anxiety and something else. But yeah, so I love Inside Out. Another reason to love Inside Out is the score. Michael Giacchino coming in clutch. He's one of my favorite composers of film scores right now. And he does a lovely score to this. It's a memorable score. It sounds like Inside Out. It's like if I was just somewhere, if I was in Disney World or something and I just walked, I didn't know what ride I was walking into, and I just suddenly heard this music, I'd be like, oh, this is an Inside Out ride. They built an Inside Out ride. You know, I would know, you know. Yeah, this is a happy place film. This is in my favorites of all time. So the grading on this is really easy. And I really did enjoy Leilani's screenplay. And unlike WALL-E, this one is a lot easier to translate. It doesn't have like non-verbal characters propelling the story of the film to where the entire interpretation relies solely on their facial expressions and just the slightest of movements. The nuance, the level of nuance in WALL-E is so difficult. But I do appreciate the fact that it has any audio description at all, because I would be interested to hear the perspective of somebody who was born without sight and only came at it from that perspective, as to how WALL-E affects them, and does it reach them emotionally, and are they able to be engaged in the same way? But yeah, so I love Inside Out. I'm really excited for Inside Out 2. Looking forward to reviewing that. And I'm going to give Inside Out an A+, indicating it's a favorite film of mine. These are a few of my favorite things. I really just don't have a problem with this film. I just, like I said, like the biggest thing that I came up with while I was looking at this was, I feel like Family Island should be sturdier. Like, that was it. That was the one thing. I was like, I don't know. I just feel like it should be sturdier. Like, but anyway, it's such a small part. But Bing Bong, my heart is with Bing Bong. It's Bing Bong will forever be remembered. Anyway, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I really hope Inside Out 2 is good. I'm pulling for Pixar. I am pulling for. I haven't seen anything great from them since, like, Luca, like truly great, where I was like, wow, that's Pixar. I've seen some stuff that's okay, some stuff that's like, that's not my favorite Pixar, but I want to be blown away. I want to see something that feels like the kind of Pixar films that I used to love and latch onto. And the last time I really, really, truly felt that was Inside Out. So why not Inside Out 2? Toy Story 2 is great. So we'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and I will see you guys on the other side.